Okay, good morning, everyone. I hope you're all well. So today we're going to do a webinar on how to make corporate Christmas gifting process smooth and possible with the lovely Lisa Shepherd from the Biscuitery. Lisa was born and raised in Germany and settled in Leeds after travelling the world with her husband. Together, her and her friend Saskia formed the Biscuitery. So take it away, Lisa.
Okay, I think now people are able to hear me.
Yeah, we can hear you, Lisa.
Yes, fabulous. Thank you for having me. I'm Lisa, one of the co-founders of the Biscuitery. We are an online business specializing in branded and personalized biscuits. We started the business when we were mums to young children. Out of necessity more than anything, we wanted a work life that fitted around our families and not the other way around. So today we are a team of working mums predominantly. Most of us work part-time or school hours. And another big focus for us as a business is sustainability. So all our biscuits are handmade to order. There's no waste because there's nothing lying on the shelf. And we use eco-friendly packaging and high quality ingredients. So that's a little bit about us. And today I thought it would be a good idea to talk to people who tend to order from us and give them a little bit of a perspective of the challenges we face, especially around Christmas as a small business. Because it happens time and time again that we get amazing inquiries, but it's just something that isn't doable in the time frame. And I think a lot of that comes with how the market has changed, with how people want to support small businesses more, how there's more focus on quality and supporting local businesses, eco-friendliness, obviously the whole B Corp trend. But what hasn't totally happened yet is maybe a shift in the expectations of what's possible as a small business that has all this in mind. So I'm trying to give you a bit of an insight of what things look like from our perspective. So what happens when we get an order is that we produce everything from scratch for that client, because everything we do is personalized or branded, and obviously that's another big trend, to have like branded gifts, or gifts with even the names of your clients or your team members on, and obviously that doesn't exist yet. So we can only bake so far in advance because of the shelf life. Which again has to do with the quality. We could use a lot more sugar in the biscuits, but we think that isn't necessarily the right way of doing things to extend the shelf life. So when we get an order, we start to work basically, and that's one bottleneck, as it were, because if we get a huge order, we have our team, we have our capacity, and whilst we have seasonal helpers, there's only so much that we can take on realistically with a perishable product. But then there's also our suppliers, and ever since the pandemic, there are real supply chain issues, and I'm sure you see that in your everyday life. We've seen such a difference in the last 3 years. So we work with a box supplier of lovely small boxes, gift boxes that are made from recycled materials. And every year it gets more difficult. We need to give them so much more notice to get the stock we need. There's issues, there's delays with deliveries, so everything has just become that little bit more unreliable. And obviously, if we book our courier for the boxes to go out on a certain day, but we receive the boxes a day too late, that causes a massive issue. So whilst we try to put contingency in all places, sometimes if an order is a bit last minute, we just can't do that. So that is obviously a massive issue that we try to be transparent about. Equally, we don't want to always assume the worst, which is trying to be realistic and educate our clients of what is doable, and obviously give them an update as soon as we speak to our suppliers. Another issue that is fairly new is the Royal Mail strikes. Obviously, you can have your own opinion on those. I'm not saying that they shouldn't stand up for better working conditions. But again, as a small business, we chose Royal Mail because they are supposedly the best courier. Yet, especially last Christmas, they did a lot of strikes, which is something completely out of our control. We don't get any more notice as a business client than a private client. So sometimes it was literally 2 days before we got an email saying, oh, by the way, we're not going to work over the next 3 days, which is obviously a huge problem. And again, something completely out of our control. And we would obviously try our best to find alternative couriers, but we obviously have order management systems that connect our shop orders and even our corporate orders to the Royal Mail account. So it's not as easy as just go into every or whatever. Obviously, then there is Brexit. So anything that goes abroad is a huge challenge now. We're trying to navigate it. We're getting better at it as a small business, but it really seems like every country has different customs agreements now, and especially with food, it's been difficult to especially say, it will take 2 weeks to arrive, because even if it's a guaranteed service, we found that this is not the case. Again, something we educate our clients on from the start and want to be transparent about. But obviously, it's not something everybody can work with. So that is kind of the challenges we have as a small business, all the balls we are juggling. And I guess as more businesses and office managers want to move towards supporting smaller businesses, local businesses, be high on the CSR, and maybe even support B Corp businesses. I think there has to happen a shift as well with the expectations, because huge orders, if you want to order 500 gifts for your staff or your clients, traditionally for larger businesses, they have all that on the shelf and it's not a problem. But for smaller, especially eco-friendly businesses and food businesses that bake to order, that's just something that isn't possible. So I think that shift of expectation is really important to just see what is doable. And I think the solution to that, one is education, to kind of, for me, to share that perspective, because obviously there's us, but there's a million other small food businesses that make beautiful chocolates and things that might have a slightly longer shelf life. But again, if you want to put your branding on, it's something that will have to be created from scratch with most products. And yeah, so I think my recommendations to make this process smoother would be to get the ball rolling as soon as possible. Small businesses love pre-orders. So if you have a quiet summer or any period kind of before September, ideally, because obviously we all know Christmas is coming, send that email to the business you have in mind to supply your Christmas gifts, and just see what is doable. Because if you agree there and then to book it in, they might even be able to offer you a discount because they're so happy that there's something coming in already. And obviously then with it being booked in, they can take all the necessary steps to make sure that the gifts will arrive on time. And we've had a big client for 4 years now who order every Christmas, and every year it's a little bit smoother because we understand the process so much better now. We know that by the end of September we need to order the boxes. By mid-October we need to order the inserts from our printer to go in with the boxes, with the gift boxes, and then by early November we need to start baking. Obviously for the biscuits to have a long enough shelf life until past Christmas, but still being fresh. So that is just an example. So really we needed confirmation from the client mid-September, which is a bit ridiculous, but I'm sure many of you, just like me, for you the Christmas planning starts in summer. So I would just say, don't be afraid to reach out much earlier than you think is relevant. Plant the seed, find out what is doable, because you will get a better deal, and you will get just avoid a lot of hassle, because we have it time and time again that people message us early December with the request to have bespoke branded Christmas gifts, and at that stage it's just, even if we can manage it as a business, we probably can't get the branded sleeves in. We might struggle to get the courier booked in, so all those challenges that we just have no control over. So another thing would be to gather all the info, because a lot of the time I get quite vague inquiries of like, can you make Christmas gifts for us? And the more information I have, the more of an accurate quote I can send you, the more examples I can send you. Obviously, our products are maybe a bit different because it's so bespoke, and the world is your oyster with our biscuits. But if you have seen anything online that you like, or if you had something last year that you liked, but you want to do something a little bit different, the more info you put in there, the more you will help the small business owner to help you create something that will live up to your expectations. And I say small business owners because I think small businesses are the ones who will put that effort in. Obviously, if you can also go online and just self-check out with a large chain or brand, but a small business will be able to provide you with something, handmade, bespoke, personalized in many cases, and they will maybe even create a product they've never done before, but that will suit your needs and requirements. So again, if you have something like that in mind, then send them as much info as you have. Kind of your budget as well helps, because they have a clear idea of their pricing. It's obviously too overwhelming to share all of that with you. But if you say, £20 per head, then they can give you an array of ideas. Whereas if you say, a box, that could be a box of 1 or 6 or 12 biscuits. So just put a lot of info in there. Images help, and then you will obviously save time on both sides. And another thing I try to do is pick up the phone more, because I feel I can then get into that person's head a lot quicker rather than 15 emails back and forth. Can get an idea of what they're after, can give them maybe an initial idea of costing straight away. So I can only speak for ourselves, but I would say don't be afraid to pick up the phone and speak to a real person, because again, that's something that doesn't happen so much anymore. So yeah, I think that was almost everything I wanted to cover. I thought I'll keep this open for any questions. Over to you.
Thank you, Lisa. So just a quick question for me. With your biscuits, how long do they stay fresh for?
So they have a tested shelf life of 10 weeks. So any order that comes in now, we could start baking. It's just all about, managing our schedule. We try to bake everything as fresh as we can. Many people want their Christmas gifts at the start of December, so we might bake those before those that are due to be shipped mid-December. But obviously, sometimes to juggle the schedule, we might have to start baking a little bit earlier, or with bigger orders that are then posted in bulk. We did an official shelf life test, but also we regularly taste test, as you can imagine, and they don't really change in taste or texture over the 10 weeks, because most of them are individually wrapped as well.
Oh yeah, that's amazing. And so if I was to order biscuits from my office, would you recommend, like, what kind of time frame would you recommend them coming in for me to give them out to people in the office?
So at Christmas, it's a bit of a how long's a piece of string, but I would say we do always book up. So by December we're booked up. And we're getting better every year. We have more seasonal helpers now, and we have a bigger production site and all of that. But the more notice you can give us, the better. I would say on average, it probably takes us 3 to 5 days for about 100. At Christmas time, normally that's more like 1 to 3 days. But it depends on how intricate they are, because again, we offer hand-iced biscuits, where everything is piped by hand, but then also printed ones that are much, much faster to produce. So it all depends on which biscuit variety you would like. But I would say as a ballpark, maybe, a week for 100 at Christmas.
Oh, that's amazing. Before I carry on, has anyone else got any more questions? No? Okay. So I was also going to ask about, you touched a little bit about careers. You said Royal Mail. Are you going to be shifting to a DPD or are you going to stick with using Royal Mail?
I think for now we are going to stick with Royal Mail. We're part of a network of food businesses, and I hear just the same issues from DPD. Maybe not so much with the strikes, but they have a pretty awful track record with treating parcels with not so much care, which is obviously important for us because it's a fragile product. So yeah, I think for now we do have to stick with it, and we just have to. It just eats into our production time because we allow so much more contingency if there are strikes announced, which is ship them a lot earlier because again the shelf life isn't usually affected by it. So that's what we do, but that causes more hassle on our side, which no one ever sees. But for us, it can be quite stressful.
Yeah, I can imagine that being quite stressful actually. And they always announce them quite, not last minute and over really inconvenient times. And do you ship abroad as well, like to Europe and places like that?
We do, yeah. We get quite a few inquiries from the Netherlands. And the way we usually suggest to do it is if the client has the preferred courier and they have an account with them, then normally we ask them to book it directly and book a collection from us rather than us do it for them, because our Royal Mail account doesn't allow us to ship abroad. So that is usually the better way because it's a trusted courier, and they then have full control of the tracking. They also don't pay any, we have no markup on the pricing. They just pay what it costs. So that's the way we've kind of worked around that, because they then also fill out all the customs information, and it's just a lot more straightforward. So that's the way we're dealing with it for now.
Yeah, because I can imagine actually shipping abroad with all the customs forms and all of that can be a bit of a nightmare.
Yeah, it has been quite difficult. Some, especially Ireland, some countries are quite strict with food. And again, we're transparent with it. Some clients say that's fine. Let's just call it something else. And then usually they get there, but obviously the client has to be okay with that. And so yeah, it's all a little bit complicated.
Yeah, I was going to say, because food is probably now the most complicated thing to send. Is that correct?
I would say so, yeah, absolutely. After obviously, batteries and dangerous things, but yeah.
And we've got a few people coming in. With the people that have just joined, obviously Lisa's just spoken about her challenges. Is there any particular questions that you want her to go over just quickly again?
I could just do a very quick summary for the new joiners. Shall I do that?
Yeah, that'd be perfect if you could.
Yeah, so what we basically covered is that there's a shift happening for many office managers to wanting to support more local businesses, smaller businesses that are maybe B Corp businesses or trying to become B Corp businesses, have a big focus on social and environmental responsibility. And what hasn't quite happened yet with that shift is the expectation that those small local eco-friendly businesses can send out their products at the same speed as someone who has especially perishable products lying on the shelf for months, or large companies who can produce 10,000 biscuits in a day. So I was just trying to give a perspective from a small local biscuit company. Well, I say local, we're in Leeds. We do ship out biscuits all across the UK and abroad, but we use local suppliers, and we definitely have supply chain issues over Christmas, because it is obviously the busiest time for most people to purchase gifts. So our gift boxes, it's more and more difficult to get hold of them. We need more lead time for them to be delivered to us. Then there's the Royal Mail strikes. So I'm not making excuses, but I'm trying to show the things that we juggle in the background as small businesses. And the solution I proposed was to just inquire a lot early in the year. So if you have a quiet summer, you could just reach out to small businesses, because they can help you with more bespoke and branded, personalized gifts, but then they will need more notice. So small businesses love pre-orders. So if you did reach out to them in the summer, they might even offer you a discount because they're so happy they already have a confirmed order for Christmas. So I think if that's possible, and I know you juggle a lot as well, but just as a little, maybe a recurring calendar reminder in August to start thinking about Christmas, if you don't do that already. But we get quite a few inquiries early December for Christmas gifts, and at that stage it's just really complicated. Even if we as a manufacturer were able to produce the biscuits they wanted, it's then the packaging and the courier issues that might just make it impossible. So that's basically what I covered.
Thank you, Lisa, for doing that. That's brilliant. Is there any questions from anyone about that? Okay, well, we'll leave it there then. If you do have any questions, Lisa, how would they contact you?
The best way to contact me is lisa@thebiskery.com. The Biskery is with a K, so a mix of biscuits and bakery, biskery.com. If you mention that you were on the call today and you're interested in a quote, then I'm happy to apply a discount for you as members. And yeah, would be happy to send some samples as well to anyone who's interested. So please get in touch.
Oh, that's amazing. Thank you, Lisa. Lisa can also be found on the portal. Okay, that's everything. Thank you all so much for joining, and I hope you have a good rest of lunch.
Thanks for having me. Bye.
Bye.